about halfway because of COVID. So my question to you is, how many kept with it and finished the book? You've had 2.5 years to do it. Got a couple. A couple, all right. Well, there was a particular devotional in here that's called and I was thinking of this one. I was trying to come up with what to do for this week, and I thought, well, with Brooke being at state track, and there's a lot of kids out there running this weekend from all four corners of the state in all classes, I thought, well, maybe this would be kind of fitting. And I remembered that Jonathan Kahn had one in here that I had used for a youth group. So I want you to hear the story. This is a riddle. Said the teacher, 2 men in a race. The first is a perfect runner, fast, strong, skilled, and confident, one who only runs perfect races. The second is slow, clumsy, weak, and unsteady. He has never been in a race where he didn't stumble and fall multiple times before the race was over. The two compete in a marathon of widely varying and at times dangerous terrain. The second runner finds himself far behind and falling continuously for the entire length of the race. Now the first runner performs with great speed and skill. In the most treacherous of terrain, he falls only once, and apart from that, runs a perfect race. So, who wins? The first runner, I answered. From everything you told me, he has to win. But he loses, said the teacher. It is the second runner who wins. But how? The first runner only runs perfect races. Once he falls, it's no longer a perfect race. His race is over. He's finished. But the second runner isn't running a perfect race. So when he falls, the race isn't over. But how do we know he wins? If he keeps falling for the length of the race, it means he also, what? Keeps getting up for the length of the race until he crosses the finish line. So the winner is not the best runner, but the one who crosses the finish line. Never forget that. For you too are in a race. Do everything you can to avoid falling. But you won't win the race by running it perfectly. No one does. But when you fall, remember the runner's riddle. Get up, get on with it, no matter how great your fall. Get up and keep going. And if you fall again, get up again. And if you keep falling, keep getting up again. And if you keep falling and getting up again, you will end up crossing the finish line. And you will win the race. For this race and this faith are not to those who run perfectly or never fall, but those who win are those who keep getting up after falling, and those who fall and get up are the ones who win. There's a lot in that to chew on. Now, most of us know the story. If I had said, I'm going to give you a parable on the runner, what would you thought of? The tortoise and the hare, right? But in that story, the hare, while he runs fast, is prideful, gets lazy, and taunts that pride in the tortoise's face. And he takes a nap. And he misses out. The tortoise, on the other hand, is what? Just slow and steady and crosses the finish line first. But in this story, it's not the one who finished first, it's the one who finished. Well, I wanted to look at what the Bible had to say about running a race. And you know what? The Bible's got a lot to say in both Testaments. So Brooke's here, so she can keep crocheting so I don't embarrass her. This is 1 Corinthians 9:24-25. Do you not know that in a race all runners run, but only one gets the prize? Run in such a way that you get the prize. Because everyone who competes in games goes into strict training. They do it to get a crown that will not last, but we do it to get a crown that will last forever. So what does that mean? What's the crown he's talking about? Now you have to realize when Paul wrote this, he wrote this to the people of Corinth. And they were used to the Roman games. They chipped in on all this. And when you ran the race or whatever you competed in and you won, you didn't get a medal, you didn't get any other prize. What you got was what? An olivet crown or wreath that they put on your head. So it was this coveted wreath. Now when you think about that wreath, how long, now a medal, yeah, it can rust, but that's going to stick around a lot longer. How long do you think an olivet wreath is going to last? Until it dries and withers up, right? So you spent this whole time reaching this coveted thing that's just going to be gone in a matter of months. But Paul says, as Christians, we do not do it to go for something that's here and gone tomorrow. We do it for a crown that will last forever. Now remember, he's speaking to the Gentiles. He's telling them the gospel message. He's letting them know that if they go for earthly things, it's fine to run a race, and it's fine to strive. But that's not the ultimate goal, because everything of this earth perishes. The goal is to run a race in Christ that will be forever. Now Isaiah 40:31, most people know this one, probably by heart. It says, but those who hope in the Lord will renew their strength. They will soar on wings like eagles. They will run and not grow weary, and they will walk and not faint. They will run and not grow weary. In life, have you ever felt like you were a little weary? Maybe you didn't have to run a race. Maybe your life is a rat race right now. And you're like, oh Lord, I can't go another day. I'm done. I'm exhausted. I want you to think about a runner in a marathon. They say, let's just say a 15K or a 20K. I don't know. 1K would be more than I can handle. So any K is too big. I like the below letters. But it says with 1 to 2 miles left, their muscles are burning. They are in so much pain that they literally cannot take another step. But it's the runner who has to somehow dig deep and figure out where to draw the strength from to continue. That's kind of what this world is. If you don't know Jesus, when you are at that point where you are checked out and done, you have to somehow come up, dig down deep enough to pull yourself up by the bootstraps and make it on your own. But what is Isaiah saying here? For those of us who put our hope in who? Not ourselves, but in the Lord, in God. He renews our strength, right? It says we will soar on eagle's wings because we're not the ones having to carry ourselves through it anymore. He is the one lifting us up and helping us get through to that next journey until we have recovered and we're strong enough again to continue the race that's set before us. Galatians 5:7 says, you were running a good race. Who cut in on you to keep you from obeying the truth? Well, first he was talking to Corinth. Now he's talking to Galatia. The Galatians were Gentiles, just like the Corinthians. And he's talking to those baby Christians. They're the ones who heard the gospel, and they're all excited, and they're running the race, and they're going in this new journey in their life, and all of a sudden, somebody comes up and starts telling them lies. And says, who cut in on you? You think about that, a runner, right? Think about horse racing, or even before it's the Olympics. They'll do that, and they'll cut in and try to knock that person off course. He says, who cut in on you and kept you from obeying the truth? They said, no. They came in and derailed them from continuing a life with Christ and tried to suck them back into their old way of living. I think we can all relate to that. This world is full of things that are constantly telling lies in our ears and trying to suck us back from the path that God has set out before us. So then he goes to Rome, and he says to the Romans in 5:3-8, not only so, but we also glory Because we know that suffering produces perseverance, and perseverance, character, and character, hope. I took this picture of Brooke at one of the McCool meets. She had been running in the 800 meter relay. And towards the beginning of the season, she pulled not one, but both Achilles tendons. Now, I can't even run with both of them feeling good. I cannot even imagine the pain of what that must be like. And when she did therapy and stuff, she still went. And that's twice around the track. She ran, and not only did she run, but she knocked 8 seconds off of her already PR time. And when she got done with that, because this wasn't an individual race, it was a relay, which means she had 3 other teammates that were dependent upon her. And when she got done, she fell flat on her face in pain. But as she continued to cheer on her teammates, she sat there with ice on both ankles. That's suffering. That's perseverance. That's character. And that's hope. They say a picture is worth 1,000 words. I thought that was it. You know, we talk about there's suffering in our lives, in every one of our lives. We've had times when things did not go the way we wanted. And I was trying to figure out how I was going to work, and I was remembering that one from Jonathan, and then when I read it again, it's like, well, that really wasn't what I was thinking. You have one that runs a perfect race, one who's fallen down. How am I going to work that with what I'm thinking? And then we're at the track meet yesterday, and there happened to be, before the 200, there was the hurdles, and it was the championship hurdles. And there was the top 3 runners were kind of spaced out, but they were a little close together. And they had taken off. It was just the 300, I think, meter hurdles. And they were coming around. They were running a perfect race. And they get all the way down around to the finish line. They got 1 hurdle to go. And as they come to that last hurdle, the second from the end hits the hurdle. And she's like towards the front. She hits the hurdle, and she falls down. The gal beside her clears the hurdle, but somehow in clearing the hurdle and came down, don't know if she did something to her ankle or knee, she went down hard. The gal who hit the hurdle that had fallen first got up and looked across the finish line. She finished. The gal who had run a perfect race, who fell, never got up. Now, this was in the championship run, so they would have medaled. The gal who fell, even though she hit and fell down, since she got up and crossed the line, she medaled. The other gal that never got up, I don't know if she medaled or not. I thought I was like, wow, that's like my message right there that I just read. It was the act of getting up and continuing. Now, I'm not saying anything bad about the other gal. I don't know the whole circumstances behind that. But it was such a visual. Because the first gal that hit it and went down, she didn't know the other gal fell down. In her mind's eye, I'm done for. I'm not going to place. I might as well just call it quits. But she didn't. She persevered. I want you to think about times in your life where you were running a perfect race. You were doing everything that was asked of you, and you were doing it efficiently, and you were going for the prize. Maybe the prize was a promotion. Maybe the prize was to get a specific job, or to get a degree, or whatever that prize was. And you were posed for it. You had run the perfect race, and right at the finish line, it was snatched away from you. It wasn't fair. Somebody took it away. Maybe they weren't even qualified, but they got your job. Maybe they had no business getting that promotion, but they were related to the boss, and they took it away from you. I want you to think about all the things in your life that you came so close to grabbing, and it was snatched away at a moment's notice. What did you do? Did you quit? Did you say, I'm never going to do that again? I'm not going to go for another promotion. I'm not going to get it. He's got 3 other relatives. Or, well, since I didn't get that job, maybe I'm in the wrong profession. Maybe it was something you were going for in high school even, that's still in the back of your head that you had taken away from you that was not right. You earned that spot. And so now you're sitting there going, I quit. I'm done. Not going to do it again. And it's like running a perfect race, and the person who fell gave up. But what happened to the one who continued to fall, who continued to get beaten down, who continued to keep constantly having unfair things happen to them? They continue to get up. And what happens to them? They win the race. It's the perseverance. It's in those times. If you always want a perfect race, what do you think your character is going to be like? More than likely, pretty prideful. More than likely, pretty arrogant. Right? Because you've never known what it's like to be beat down. You don't know what it's like to be made fun of, or what it's like to lose an opportunity. But for those of you who've had that, which is probably everybody sitting here in this room, what has it built? It's built character. And that is what people see. And when they look at you and they know what you've gone through in your life and the struggles you've had and what you've had to overcome and how you've reacted and the fact that you keep pulling yourself up to continue to go on, they see hope in you. Because it's not you. It's who's helping you run the race. Hebrews 12:1 says, therefore, since we are surrounded by such a great cloud of witnesses, let us throw off everything that hinders and the sin that is so easily entangles. And let us run with perseverance the race marked out for us. Now, I don't know if you can see, but right here is where she was getting the baton handed off so she could take off. She was the third leg. And this picture doesn't really show it because by that time most everybody had left that side of the field, but that entire stadium at Burke was packed. When it talked about the cloud of witnesses, I thought about all the people from across the state for DNC who showed up to cheer on those kids, whatever sport, whatever event they were in. Did you know when Paul talks about the cloud of witnesses that's cheering you on, do you know who that cloud is? That is all the saints from thousands and thousands of years ago back to Adam and Eve who have died before us. They are the cloud of witnesses. Those who have persevered, those who have kept their eye on the prize, which was God and Jesus Christ, they are the ones encouraging you, just like those screaming fans, telling you, you can do it, just a little harder, just a little stronger, you're so close. Keep it up. 2 Timothy 4:7 says, this is Paul, and this is probably one of the most famous lines. I've used it a lot of times at funerals myself. But I have fought the good fight. I have finished the race. I have kept the faith. Paul is talking to Timothy here. He's talking about the end, because he's at the end of his life. He knows his time is short. But the problem is, we only look at this verse to be at the end of our life. Did you know you have multiple chapters and multiple journeys in your life? Yeah. And at the end of each journey, before the next one, you've what? You've come to the end. So I want you to think about your talents. Think about the road that God has taken you on. Maybe you conquered something and you did really good. You learned how to do it and it was perfect and you got done. Does that mean you get to quit? No, you pick something else up on. You go on another journey. So if we look at this in that spot, he said, I've fought the good fight. Maybe it was another struggle in your life, a decade of not very good stuff. Trials, tribulations, hardships. And you felt like you had to fight for every minute of it. He says, I have fought that race. I fought the fight, but I finished the race. I finished that chapter. I finished that journey. And ultimately, what was the prize? He had kept the faith, no matter what the circumstances. No matter how many times he faced death, no matter how many times he faced persecution, he kept the faith. James 1:12 says, "Blessed is the one who perseveres under trial, because having stood the test, that person will receive the crown of life that the Lord has promised to those who love him." Let that settle for just a minute. Well, it's great to strive for things. It's great to put forth the effort, to put forth the energy, to be good at whatever God's called you to do. Ultimately, all the baubles and faubles of this world, the trophies, the medals, the plaques, the accolades, what's going to happen to them? They're going to disappear. What is the prize? It's Christ. That is the crown. You know the song. You sing it all the time. When at last the old rugged cross, I lay down my trophies at the base of that cross in exchange for what? It's the crown of life. So I'm going to leave you with this last slide. It says, life is not about winning the race. Life is about finishing the race. And how many people we can help along to finish the race. I want you to think about that for just a minute. Sometimes when we think about racing, again, we think about it as an individualized sport. That's why I like the relays, because it's not. You're only as good as how much effort your Winkus Link puts into it. You're only as good as your teammates. As the body of Christ, this is not an individual run, right? We are interconnected with one another. And this is really what the prize is all about. It's not about winning the race for ourselves. Yes, that is our reward, heaven. But life is about finishing that race and taking as many people as we can to that finish line. That, my folks, is what the gospel message is all about. It's about the saving blood of Christ, sharing that to all, and trying to harness as many people as you can, no matter how many times you fall, just to keep getting up, dragging them with you to the prize that awaits. Amen.